to bet there's probably a few of you out there willing to ponder your life's overall meaning a bit. Amid all the static and all the fury of your life bouncing around here and there, and all of the impact, the imploding impact onto your brain of all of the things in our culture that just hit you, mostly the internet, but even as you're racing around through the world out here today, accelerating world, isn't it? And that means, if there are a few of you here, and you're still aboard with us in this Wake Up series, this is for you. We think it's time to begin considering the unsettling topic of what may or may not come after your last heartbeat. Ever think of that?
Here's what the minor celebrity highlighted in this particular magazine had to say on the cover. For my life, I've decided to just be me. But what if being her isn't so good? It reminds me of one of my favorite cotton candy fluff advertising messages of years ago. Nike shoes came out with this less than profound piece of advice, you be you. However, what they failed to follow up with was any constructive advice as to what someone was to do if he or she wasn't happy being them. In any case, those who are trying to pad their lives with this kind of foggy life coaching are, I'm afraid, sadly adrift in a sea of confusion aboard a rudderless boat going nowhere. But now contrast that with a much more meaningful and encouraging quote by someone who has transcended all our questionable earthly wisdom. He said, quote, I have come so that they may have life and to have it to the full. That was Jesus Christ in the Gospel of John. Okay, but how do I know there really is an afterlife, you might ask? And if there truly is, what kind of evidence could there be of such an afterlife? And related to that, you might ask, what's going to happen to me? Or where will I possibly be 1 second after my death? These would appear to be sensible questions and to be asked in any open, sincere seeker of the truth. Truth regarding things lying beyond the normal reality of day-to-day living, that is. Well, in response, let me pose two related what-if questions to you. What if there truly is an afterlife? Further, what if the critically important decision of where you will spend eternity in that afterlife is a decision you must make before death? Wouldn't that decision be incredibly important? Put a bit more bluntly, what if there really is a payday someday? Do you see where questions like, where will I be after I die, leave the skeptic? He or she is faced with the blunt, often avoided reality of the 50-50 choice. This is what I'd call an eternal gamble, which is centered on a key point. The profound teachings and claims of Jesus Christ recorded in the Bible could be true. If so, skeptics suffer a profound loss on their critically important 50-50 bet as to whether or not there is accountability after death concerning the way they've lived their lives. Why? Simply because if Jesus was really who he claimed, the Son of God came down to earth, he clearly warned of a judgment to come to those who chose what he called the broad road leading to destruction. Simply stated, that is described by the Bible as eternal outer darkness or hell.
Well, perhaps it's now time for us to ask you to make an assumption. It's one you may never have seriously thought of doing before. We would simply ask you to consider the facts supporting what is widely thought to be the most unique and influential book of the last nearly 2 millennia, the Bible. If you're willing to take a look, you will find it is a clear account of history and spiritual truth, which also happens to contain undeniably precise prophecies. In it, you obviously can discover answers for all of the life and the afterlife questions we've been posing in this series so far. You will not, however, have to make a huge leap into the dark to accept this. It will simply require only a small hop of faith and to truth-based evidence. I'd simply ask you to consider the possibility that God did not intend for people to check their minds at the door in order to believe what the Old and New Testaments in the Bible lay out. By contrast, the revered ancient texts of virtually every world religion are contaminated by myth, legend, fantasy, and distortion. But here the Bible stands out as a strong tower, utterly unique in accuracy and truth. Any honest seeker will find that the truths the Bible declares are firmly embedded in verifiable history. Listen, there comes a time that we must think it through. Would you come to the point where you'd be willing to consider that the Bible, perhaps just maybe, could possibly somehow be from God? The Bible is shown over centuries to be radically and powerfully different from every other religious book or collection of books. Would you be willing to give God the benefit of the doubt? Yes, I said God. What if God, who is eternal, has all knowledge, is powerful enough to create his universe and everything alive in it? What if this God actually loved his fallen creatures? What if he decided to focus his wishes, goals, and plans into the minds of certain humans he selected? Would you be willing to consider that he is powerful enough to do that?
So, what would have to be our summary conclusion? The Bible is historically accurate. The evidence is there for any unbiased thinking person to confirm.
As we near the close of video 4, maybe I can personalize this all a bit. Up until age 40, there were a lot of issues I didn't believe. Things about God, the Bible, and even about Jesus Christ. But my thinking was radically changed over a relatively short period of months back in 1987. And just to summarize here, I can bluntly tell you what I now firmly don't believe. First, I don't believe in a mindless nothing concept like chance, quote unquote, creating all of the mind-boggling intricacies and beautiful designs inherent in life all around me. I also don't believe God is out there somewhere but could care less about me. I don't believe God can't, or for some reason won't, intervene in a world he so beautifully has created. I also don't believe he is powerless to direct the minds of human beings he created to communicate his message to them if he wanted to. And yes, I believe he had wanted to. And then lastly, I don't believe that Jesus Christ was just another wise man or guru or a spiritual con who, unfortunately for him, ran afoul of his enemies and was then executed, his body just rotting away in some common criminal's graveyard. No, as a matter of fact, I won't believe any of those things, and neither should you. And why not? Well, because history, logic, and millions of lives changed for the better provide you with the concrete evidence to believe the Bible truly is God's Word to all people for all ages. Now the best way I can think of to close out this video is with some beautiful music. I'll match this to the appropriate verses. Enhancing these, enjoy the serene beauty of the lake where Jesus spent so much time among his people, Lake Galilee.